like Abraham, the Lord gave me a promise. Yeah, it didn't seem like that it would ever come true. I kept believing, I kept trusting, I kept obeying his voice, because I knew what he promised me that he was able to do. And you know what? And then it finally.
Well, good afternoon. This is the result of keeping a good thing going in the COVID-19 times. As you know, for the past 5 years, we've had our back to school bash, and the community has come together with all our Greek organizations, our Shriners, the Mason organizations, churches, to provide school supplies for our students as well as supplies for our teachers and the school. So this year, because of the restrictions and where we are with COVID and trying to stay safe, we decided instead of having the students come, we were going to have people come and do what we call our back to school bash drop-off. And what we have done, we tried to make sure everybody was fully aware of what's needed. Our needs are a little bit different this time because, as you know, we are now having virtual school, but hopefully if things can improve, we will have the students back. And one of the things that Dr. Brooks wanted to ensure was that kids wouldn't be bringing things to school, taking them back, going back and forth. So what we decided to do, we would have all the supplies stored here at the warehouse for the school, and as Dr. Brooks would need them for distribution, she would come and get them and they would be easily accessible to her. So today what we're doing from 11 until 6 o'clock, we're here receiving all the drop-offs. And because, as I said, they will be stored in the room behind us, and hopefully that we can get full participation like we've done in the past and just make sure that we can keep our kids, our teachers, our staff, bus drivers, cooks, everybody safe during this coronavirus time. So again, we just encourage everybody to please come. There are some traditional things, and we accept anything you bring. We're accepting pencils, papers, pens, but we need more sanitizing equipment. We need the hand sanitizers. We need individual Kleenexes. We need sanitizing cleaners. They definitely need some chargers for the iPads. So we've tried to keep the list publicized in the paper and on Facebook to make sure that people know what we need. Then, because we're having problems trying to buy sanitizing supplies, because as you know, most of them now are limited in the stores. You can only get one. And I mean, we were accustomed to going to buy cases of things. So what we're doing is asking people, if you can't buy all the things you want, we are accepting monetary donations, gift cards, cash. Dr. Brooks is here, and if anybody needs a receipt, we can get that taken care of too. But this is our purpose of being here today, is to make sure that we can keep our Macon County school system healthy.
Now, this takes a lot of commitment, and you could very well assume that that burden you got down at the State House is sufficient to keep you busy forever. Now, why are you out here doing this?
Well, this was origination on an idea God gave me about 5 or 6 years ago in the shower. And we have community service monies, and we normally try to give a little here and a little there. But when I really decided to do this was when Victoryland closed. And as you know, so many of our parents of our students were working. They didn't have the resources. So I said, okay, I'm going to take this money and make sure that we can spread it throughout the county to everybody. And that's why I give, Dr. Brooks can tell you, I give my check to the Macon County School System to support this activity. And it has been very successful. And I'm a little behind this time because we're trying to see how we were going to do it, and then some more things that we had, that the mail system has just kept us delayed. I mean, when I say delayed, we've been waiting on a letter for going on 2 weeks now that was mailed in Tuskegee, and we still hadn't gotten it yet. But what we're going to do, we will be continuously donating items to the school throughout the year. things. Anybody wants to come off and drop some things, just give Dr. Brooks a call, and she will be more than happy to either pick it up or have someone here to receive it.
What's the money that's provided by the state for these kinds of projects?
Right now, we use the Education Trust Fund. We have a line item in there for each legislator gets an allocation. It depends on several things. It depends on what committee you're on. It depends on your tenure in there as to how the amounts vary among us in the House. We have the same pot in the Senate. But see, the Senate, we have to take that one pot in the House and divide it 105 ways, where in the Senate, they only have to divide it 35 ways. So my contribution usually runs about between $30,000 and $40,000 a year, and it has to be used throughout my district. And I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure in the Senate they probably get over $100,000 a year out of the community service grants.
As a training moment here, what should the people know about the House of Representatives and the State Senate? What are some of the most common things that we really need to know about that institution?
Well, the main thing is that institution is responsible for keeping the state running. We are responsible for all state agencies, the funding, and when I said all state agencies, that's from law enforcement, health care, education, corrections, mental illness, revenue. We have to make sure that we can keep the state functioning and running. And you know, I'm glad you asked me that, because see, sometimes people don't understand the role of a representative. The representative commitment is to the people with the state. You have your municipalities. Municipalities have total autonomy. They can do anything they want to do to work with your your cities. You have your county. Your county government doesn't have what we call home rule, and home rule is basically being able to put laws in place. So anytime the county needs any laws in place, they have to come to the legislature, and that's what we call our local legislation. But in the Alabama legislature, it's been a little different since 2010. For 139 years, it was the Democrat Party was in control. In 2010, the Republican Party took over, and their agenda totally changed. We have always been more centered on people issues. As you know, the state of Alabama didn't expand Medicaid because they said they can't afford the Medicaid expansion. With our educational system, we've done better because our budgets are basically built on our economy with our income tax and our sales tax for education, and that has been doing pretty good lately. So we've been able to put monies in areas in education that we have been missing. We've tried to do a lot with coming forward with our broadband connections. We've done a lot for pre-K and making sure that, you know, we can try to get kids started earlier. But one of the things that I have, and one of the issues that I have with pre-K, is that pre-K is not accessible to all 4-year-olds in the state of Alabama. It's limited. It's a grant process. So those are the type things we really do. And like I said, we have, since we've been dealing with this COVID, we have been on the phone back and forth on conference calls, trying to have committee calls, because as you know, we have a very bad situation with the Department of Corrections. We have a federal lawsuit that we're trying to respond to and correct, and we really haven't allocated the monies because, to be honest with you, the commission hadn't given us a perfect plan that we can really accept to deal with. He wants to build more facilities, but he can't tell us his plan as to where he's going to build the facilities, what he's going to do with the current employees. So that has been kind of slow. But as you know, in this federal lawsuit, they have just laid a lot of things out, and most recently we got another report as to the abusive behavior that the inmates have received. And on top of that, we got COVID. And there is no way, if you looked at the correction system in Alabama, those inmates are piled on each other like sardines. So we've had several cases, and I think the thing that has really kind of amazed me is the employees that we've had working in the correction center that have tested positive. So if you got those employees and they're coming to work every day, we're doing what we can to make sure that there is an area of quarantine for those who've tested positive. We don't have a standard testing procedure there. You have to test based on symptoms, and you know what that means. We got it's just a bad situation. Another situation that we are trying to work with and deal is our rural broadband, and the state received $1.9 billion for the COVID program from the CARES Act, and that money has to be spent by December the 31st. So the governor has been trying to make it available to small businesses, education. She's done mental health. She's done some broadband things. We've even done nonprofit programs. We've done faith-based programs to try to, provide resources where we can. And I'm not sure what's going to be next, but like I said, she has several programs out there that she's dealing with. But one problem that we have had an issue with, and we will continue to have an issue with, and we've got to properly fund, is mental health. We're seeing so many people right now that are suffering from depression. We're seeing kids who are accustomed to going out, dealing with their friends and kids every day, being abused at homes, and the effects that it's actually taking on them. So to sum it up, we have a whole lot of things that we have to do as the Alabama legislature to make sure that we keep the state operational and the state running.
Now, of all the things you mentioned, the most critical that I can imagine is expansion of Medicaid. Now, what in the world is wrong with the legislators down there that they cannot see the benefit of making health care more available to every citizen who live in this state?
Well, to be perfectly honest with you, it's politics. It's partisan politics. The Republican Party has an agenda. And if Medicaid is not on their agenda, you're not going to get Medicaid on the floor. And that's what the people don't understand. People protest, they do all these things, but I say they don't understand. If it's not put on the Republican agenda, it's not going anywhere. I could do a bill any day saying expand Medicaid. That bill will go in the bucket, it will go to a committee, and that bill will sit with the committee. It won't go anywhere. So what we're trying to show them, and hopefully, I'm not sure, but hopefully, I think the governor is seeing with this COVID situation and the disparities are being so evident that they might try to find a way of getting some supplemental monies into Medicaid. And we told her, said, and then too you have to understand the thinking and the rationales. The Medicaid expansion came to be under the Obama administration, the Obamacare and all this other stuff. So we told her, said, Governor, you can call it the K-Ivy care, anything you want to. But when you see that we got people here who are working, trying to support their families, there's no health care on their jobs, they can't afford to go out and pay the expensive amounts for the insurances, we need to have something accessible so people can get the adequate health care that they need. So I'm just not sure. It was kind of interesting at the end of the last session, you start hearing talking of that, but now once we get back and really have to evaluate the impact of COVID and what it has done on our people and people not having the health care services that's needed, they might put it on their agenda, but I'm just not sure exactly how they're going to address it or what they're going to call it.
Okay, with the legislators in the Senate, well, I guess all of them being Republican dominated, Does the governor have any superiority over them or any possibility of forcing them to do anything in Medicaid?
No, she doesn't. What she has the authority to do is to veto some of the actions that are taken, but when she vetoes it, it has to come back to the legislature, and I think it's a 3/5 vote can override any veto that she puts out there. So she has really been trying to work with the administration, and like I said, if you look at what's going on, you got Del Marsh there, who is really has been totally against, the pro tem of the Senate has been totally against the governor, but he's trying to slowly work his way back in. You have the Lieutenant Governor, Wills Ainsworth, who had really been in favor of some of the things that the governor has been doing. They're slowly trying to pull themselves together because they don't want, I don't think they really want the public to see the serious division that's there in the Republican Party. But
Okay,
there's a division. They fight sometimes. We just sit back and watch them fight each other.
so now, what can the people do to help to create a better future course for this state?
The people are the most powerful lobbyists in any governmental setting. They're going to have to go to the polls, and they're going to have to vote to put the right people in places. The vote right now is the most critical thing, the most powerful weapon that we have to make a change.
And to put it frank, they're going to have to vote Democrat, aren't they?
Yes, definitely.
Because if you add other Republicans there that talk a more humanistic game, but they get locked into that system, you have more of the same, don't you?
Yes, and I'm going to be honest with you. There have been instances when Republicans had to stand on a different course. They have been reprimanded. They have my chairman of health. She voted against the gas tax. They stripped her of her committee chair. They stripped her of her office. I think they stripped her of other things that she had going on. So there's a price that Republicans are having to pay if they try to take a different course and to deviate from what the original Republican agenda says.
Does that same kind of retaliation exist in the Democratic Party?
No, I don't think. We try to stay solid, and on most of the issues that we deal with, we are solid with our stance. And like I said, we have tried. We've been trying for some time, ever since the Medicaid expansion started. We've been trying to deal with that. John Knight, for about, I can't tell you how many years, tried to take taxes off of food, and it just has not worked. And one of the things that, if you've been reading lately with Del Marsh and this Build the Wall fund, he was trying to get it so that people's refunds could be donated to the Build the Wall. Luckily, when it got to the House, and we had so many questions and so much argument was going between Democrats and Republicans until that was killed in the House. So that didn't go through, because I think what bigger embarrassment could we be going through now if we would have had people sending their monies to build a wall and it was used as a scam.
So where are Republicans getting their marching orders from these days? Are they getting their marching orders from corporate or from a group of people out in the community with big ideas? Or what seemed to be their source of instruction?
Right now, it's sad to say, but the president has taken the Republican Party to a different level. And it baffles me as to how that has happened, because if you look at campaigning for state offices, for national offices. Nobody can campaign without mentioning the word Trump, the name Trump. So that has been a strong influence that you can't go against the government. I've teased some of my Republican friends about the November election. I said, y'all know Alabama might be the only state that Trump wins in. I said, because y'all just eat, breathe, live Trump all the time, okay? And then to those with money, this whole political game is about money. Money buys, money rules. And when you look at people, it was a time when you had more common people who were in the bodies of the legislature. Now it's millionaires. I mean, we have several millionaires in the Alabama legislature that are there, and they have the money to do what it takes. And it's just the game that's now played across this country in politics. And we got to, like I said, keep trying, keep fighting, keep trying to work. And people, the public doesn't understand. When you're in a supermajority body, if you get anything accomplished, you have to consider it a miracle. And so often people tease me. They say, Bev, what in the world did you do to those Republicans? You got a major controversial bill passed in the state of Alabama. I said, you have to sit down. You have to negotiate. You have to compromise. And if you listen to the Obama administration, he was very encouraging that we have to compromise. You cannot get everything that you want. But if you can go in and let them put a little bit in your bill that they want, and you still get your whole objective accomplished, it will work well. And that's basically how I have been. And I was known by a lot of the people before I came in the legislature, and I've had an opportunity to basically speak my part. I serve on the legislative council. There's two minorities on there, me and Anthony Daniels, who's the chair of the minority party. And we're the body that basically governs the Alabama legislature. Everything is controlled under our authority. So that gives me a whole lot of leverage when it comes to trying to negotiate and trying to bargain for things. And like I said, people really don't understand, but we sometimes can get legislation amended so that it doesn't come out as bad as it started. Okay, so we try to do that, and it's kind of amazing as I sit and I think about it, and people tease me. I think, if I'm not making a mistake, I'm probably the only Democrat out of 140 member body that chairs a committee. And I chair a subcommittee on rules, and rules is the most powerful committee that is in the legislature, okay? So somehow I have maneuvered and gained the respect that my voice is listened to in the Alabama legislature. For that, I thank God, because it's work, and people don't understand these jobs are work. I mean, it used to be you could go there and play and do everything. Now you're meeting, you're having to read, you got to keep up with everything that they're doing, because they're constantly meeting all the time. And so if they tell you they're going to have a meeting, you better be there. Because you can't miss meetings. You can't assume that everything is going to work right. At least you can say, this week we had a legislative council meeting, and my voice of speaking basically directed my voice and the chair of the general fund, which I sit on, opinions basically redirected that whole conversation to the point that we tabled what they were trying to do. So again, like I tell people, it's the way you play this game and how you make yourself visible and present in the conversations.
And or is how you are played, right? To not be able to get anything done, right?
Well, yeah, I always say, we try to get a little bit changed. Let me tell you something. We get a little bit changed if it's nothing but a grammatical word. So we can sometimes just change a will or to a shall, or just a little word change in there. but at least we can say we've done something to make a difference in the community.
So now, your legislative body ability to negotiate and cross up and exchange some notions and ideas and get something done, has that been seriously impacted over the 3.5 years? Were you able to do it before when you haven't been able to do it in the last 3.5 years?
There's still a little progress. Like I said, you have to look at the magnitude. We do over 700 bills in a session, okay?
Okay.
And the people, the media only keeps you informed as to what they think are media catchers. We do a lot of little things in there that we have been able to manipulate and to get some pull on. It's depressing to be there, because you know from the beginning the forces that's against you and how you really got to stay committed to the cause and the purpose, not to give in. And we've had some members, and we've had some minority members who've had some serious issues with expressing their thoughts and feelings, and it has put us into some crazy positions. But you look around and you look at the Republican Party, they've had some of the same things go on.
Because too much emotion in that kind of a situation can mess up instead of fix up, right?
Right. And you know, we've had some issues with some Democrats that has just gotten out of control with the mouth and the behavior. And like I tell people, you got to always keep your integrity. Mm-hmm. Don't let anybody get you to a point where you lose your integrity. And sometimes it gets a little loose with some of them. And as a matter of fact, we had one that they had to ban from the building one day. Just put her out. No, you're not going to sit up here and act like this. But then we look at Will Dismukes, all the things that he's done now to show that he's basically a #1 racist. And one of the things that has been really amazing to me is the reaction to many of the Republicans. They have verbally, on media, on interviews, stood really against him. And that has really made a difference. And when I've talked to several of them, they said, Pebblin, we respect our minority colleagues. You know, yes, we're in control, but we still respect who you are. And we're not going to sit up and just endorse someone who's just totally negative and trying to cause division, racial division among people. So it has really, I think a lot of the Republicans have been shocked. A lot of the Democrats have been shocked by some of the responses that have come from Republicans on that issue. They just said they never thought they would stand up and say things like that, but they have been very supportive of us against distance.
So now, if in some way we can get the people that you say are the most powerful to understand that regardless of how many $1 million a man they have, or multi-million dollars, your vote is equal to each of their votes, right?
Yes.
So how do we get that through to our people from your perspective?
Well, see, how can I say this correctly? I think a lot of our political democratic organizations have gone off track. I think the original founding principles were to educate people to the political arena. Now it seems you see more self-fulfilling, egotistical agendas and not people agendas. So we're going to have to find ways that we can really educate our people to the political processes and keep them #1 on our agenda.
Okay, and then final words you have?
No, I just want to say thank you for the interview. It's always, and thank you for the media service and how there are situations I know that the public would have no knowledge of if you didn't do what you do. You bring it to the people and you try to make sure that the people understand. And like I said, a lot of people I know are not receptive to what you're doing. And I've told people from time to time, it's not the way a person does it sometimes, it's the message that's in there that you really need to take note to and deal with. And I think as more people can understand the process, because I mean, people, the average person doesn't even understand the election process. They don't understand why we elect, when we elect, what's the difference, why you have to have a runoff, or why this person can't vote for this person. And there's a lot. And I think one of the worst things could have happened was when they took civics out of the curriculum, the educational curriculum. Kids need to learn, and that's one of the things that I think I've tried to do with my kids, is to educate them early to the political processes, because our counterparts, I've noted that with white folks, they start with them little, just like with the Alabama and the Auburn. I mean, that's all they know. That's all they've been raised to know. And with the political process, they bring them, they make sure they meet the people, and I try my best to bring as many minorities, young people. You know, old folks are okay, but my whole thing and my agenda is really centered around the young people. They're our future. We got to involve them, we got to listen to them, and we got to take some of their advice. I mean, we can't always be offensive and say, oh, we know this and we can't be told that. And that's one of the things I've seen as a weakness within our people. We have not really been open to our young people and their ways of doing things and their ideas, because that's our future. Absolutely. They're going to be our leaders. So I think maybe because I've been in higher ed, my basic professional career, just dealing with young people and knowing how they think and act, I have always had a heart for them, and I like to listen to them. I like to hear what they say. I like to call them and tell them, hey, I need help here. I need you to tell me how to do this. But I don't think as an open group, we have really opened our arms and been receptive to the young people in our community.